Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another conversation. And today I am joined by my teammate and pastor friend, Craig Zaitoff. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. What we've been doing is just having conversations, and I think it's helpful to get lots of different people's perspectives on how this has impacted them from a work standpoint, and how their family is navigating having to do things different if they do, and then whatever else you want to talk about. And so
Sounds good.
You and I obviously have had to kind of wrestle through what's the game plan with all of the changes kind of directed to us about not being able to meet maybe on a Sunday. We've been kind of conversing about that, and go ahead and maybe share a little bit, like, what have been the direct changes or adjustments you found you've had to make and you've had to think through as it comes to the lockdown, shutdown?
Sure. Well, I remember one of the first times I realized, this is pretty real in terms of the difference this is going to make for ministry in the church, was when we were, as some of you guys know, we're starting the Fairfield campus.
Yes.
And so we were doing our first setup on a Saturday. I think it was Saturday, March 14th. We were doing setup in there, and I was in the gym setting up some play panels, I think. And I got the text, hey, we're not having church tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, this is real. And so, just making that shift to pretty quickly, all of us here on our team, as I think many people have, is like, what is the new reality? So for us, like, what can I really put my time into now? And so obviously, like, getting ready to launch the campus, that shifted. But it's been really good, as we understand that God knows what's going on and he knows kind of what that opportunity is. It's been really good to shift into some things, and even work-wise, dividing into some more, like, now what's the team that's needed to get all of this to happen? There's cameras around here, and then obviously creating that online presence through messages and then worship. And so one team kind of focused on that through the project side of it, and then another team that I work more with, as you know, on pastoral care and phone calls. And
we use the wording pastoral care, but really it's like, how do we engage with relationships when we're having far less physical interactions, I'd love, I called someone today and I just said, I'm thinking up people who I normally talk to in the lobby and just haven't been able to do that for a month. And we had a great conversation, but you've kind of had some fresh ideas on how to create maybe lobby experiences.
Well, one of the things with, as we're getting ready to start Fairfield, we kind of, the momentum ramped up to here, and then I was like, well, are we just going to drop off? And so one of the things we thought of were, what if we just said hi, video chat, said hi after church, just like you kind of normally would on your way out. Just good to see people. And so we did that a couple Sundays ago, and had 30 people jump on, 30 screens actually. Yeah. So we navigated the awkwardness of, like, people figuring out their mics and people like, am I in here? As like 60 people are watching them. So, but it was really, really good and really refreshing.
And we've done that for 2 weeks now. We've kind of expanded it, kind of like a post-service lobby.
They came up with the term virtual lobby. And so one of the things that's fun is that a lot of churches are coming up with some of the same ideas. And so we were like, hey, we're trying this. Yeah, we are too. So we're not crazy.
And I think another way we're really trying to stay relational is we're launching some groups. What's the kind of idea, game plan of that? Because the groups that I've been a part of, as we sit down in the room together. So we're not encouraging people to do that, but we do value being with one another. So
and it's kind of crazy because we would never typically launch groups in this season. I mean, if we think about it, like, this is probably one of the busiest seasons of the year. Both, like, sports are going full on and things are moving towards, like, let's get it all in for the end of the school year in terms of school. And even church-wise, you were starting to move into thinking summer trips and conferences.
Well, Easter's 10 days away. This is high output time.
But the reality in the season, as we know, is, like, people are pretty much home, you know, and so they're looking for. I think there's two kinds of people one, the people that just like, oh, I just crave like to get connected to people. Like if I could just see people, that would make my day. My daughter is like this. She's been Marco Poloing back and forth with people.
Right.
My other kids don't care as much, but then there's other people that can be tempted towards maybe what's natural for them, and that's isolation. Like isolation for me is fine, but as you just read scripture, like this picture of the church, like there's a huge element of fellowship and staying connected. So groups, what groups look like that's a little bit different, at least as I think about them, is it's not the full on, hour and a half sit in. So it's not that type of probably intensity or even like, so what we've wanted to do is more create an easy place for you to jump online and get connected, get to know a few more people as well as you can.
Yeah.
I think we're realizing these go better, for people that have been like, I don't think that would work for me. I think people are realizing it works better than you think, but then to go through and answer and ask a couple questions. And so not as, like I love the little bit of idea of simplicity.
Yeah.
Maybe the technology is complicated for some people, but the simplicity of just connecting and saying hi.
The regimented structure of curriculum isn't really the driving. It's more of setting up a place to check in.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
leveraging some content. I think that's been good.
You were talking about phone calls. How have people responded with some of the phone calls that you've made?
One of the things that like, how are you? How are you? And so there's this mutual concern that's kind of been built. And people have been really kind of all over whether or not it's impacted them from a job standpoint. Some people have like this, a school teacher or a doctor. Those are completely different realities of how they're kind of having to work. But a lot of them have just been really encouraged by how the church has kind of created an opportunity for them to still kind of stay engaged. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, that's what we found too. And it's been fun because on the team, we can sometimes hear each other making phone calls. And last week we were still working in our offices. And you could just a little bit like, hey, I just had a great phone call. We just kind of hobnobbing around and sharing those. But yeah, people super appreciative. And we made sure to do our best to, as best as our list and our contacts we have, to call everybody, especially some of our friends that kind of fall into the senior saints category, and just making sure they're set. And is there anything you need? Are you able to watch the services online? Do you need help getting groceries? And so just saying like, well, if you need anything, here's how to contact us. But it's been really good.
Yeah. It's not lost on us. Church isn't a building.
Yeah.
We don't even really have one. We just rent stuff. I guess we have the hub, but I mean, that's not where church is the people. And this has really positioned us to be the church in a different way.
Yeah.
And, you and I are blessed to have great teammates that have kind of organized, even just helping with food distribution or running errands. And it's put us in position to kind of be a blessing. But eventually this stuff is going to change. What changes do you foresee for us to kind of navigate?
As a church?
Yeah.
Well, I think that I'm already starting to think when this is over and whatever that looks like, and if do we realize like it's kind of over, or is it just a new reality that stays as they talk about, does the virus stay in play like in the fall? Does it come back around? Is it a seasonal thing? But yeah, just starting to think, I think there's some of the things that God is putting some more tools in the toolbox of ministry, both with reemphasizing how important just touch points are with people. Yeah. And those phone calls matter a lot. But then also just having an online presence. And there's some way that it doesn't fully replace being in presence of each other, in the presence of God together. But there are some avenues that are pretty really efficient, like time-wise, and really more able to check in. And I think I'm excited for the ways to mobilize leaders. So hey, let's do better feedback with each other.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Just connecting people better.
Yeah, and I'm seeing how Zoom is actually letting us kind of do training even different. Before we would say like, well, how are we going to get people into a facility, and Zoom actually has opened up these new ideas of like, oh, training and leadership can look different too.
I almost bought stock in Zoom.
Oh man, that would have been a win.
But I thought everybody else must have already thought of that. But apparently $50 later, they hadn't.
So, from your home standpoint,
Yeah.
your wife is an educator. She's kind of top notch as far as knowing access to how to even do kind of more schooling from a home standpoint. Do you guys find yourselves running a play? Do you have a tight structure? What's the Zytov home game plan?
Yeah, I mean we've never homeschooled before, and so kind of taking on that. And my wife Becky is she's a homeschool coordinator in the Ottumwa School District, one of them on a really good team. But I would say there's some structure to it. I was asking the kids, how does it go exactly? So they have different like cards that they accomplish the task on it. So it might be like math, or there's a writing exercise, or you need to do something physical, you need to get outside for something. So figuring out those, and I guess they have to start by 8:30. So I'm already down the basement now working, but they start by 8:30. They've got to have teeth brushed and clothes on, otherwise things you may not do on a day at home. Saturdays I don't think we do those things. So have you found that your kids don't know what day of the week it is?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're clueless. The game plan at our home, we've had to adjust to different kids.
Yeah.
Two of ours love structure, love check boxes, love being told what to do. Boom, boom, boom. The other two get why there's a structure, but if they can actually speak into it, they'll do it with less complaining. Yeah. And so we've actually had to move to 2 schedules.
Okay.
What
are they called?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, one of our children, they're like, I will do everything on my list if you don't wake me up. If I can get up whenever I want, I will knock it out, and I will.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been true. It's a weird reality of just like, because that's exposing different learning styles, different rhythms, and so and it just you have greater empathy for teachers of just like, holy cow, you got 26, I got 4. Like how does that work? So
one of the things that Becky was telling me this morning is so she's been serving meals through the YMCA at Evans Middle School. So she said just having that built into the rhythm of her day has been really, really nice. And so she goes down there just 11 o'clock and does that quick. And so. Yeah.
And I think that's why our kids have lost what day it is the rhythms are just so different, and I'm having to learn how to readjust how to work in a different rhythm. Usually everything was building towards a Sunday, and then I would Sabbath and build towards a Sunday and Sabbath. Well, I've filmed a message on a Wednesday, or I filmed 2 on a Wednesday, and it's kind of, so I'm even trying to readjust that. I think, as we move forward, what are some wins that can be out of this? As you see, this is clearly a disastrous disease. It's a horrible pandemic. I don't think it's lost on anybody of like the reality of it, and yet I think God can still use situations like this. How do you see God using this season?
Yeah, and some of the wins are the things I'm praying for in this season, and one of them is just that families would just have great time together. I was reading Ecclesiastes this morning about how just have fun.
There was that line in there.
And so that families would really experience that, and there'd be some where there's been some disconnect, there'd be some reconnect in families, and some closeness that's felt, some tenderness. We talk about that, families and especially dads being tough and tender at the same time, so that we'd walk in that well. I think one of the other things is that going to church is awesome, and I can't wait to be back at church on Sundays. But one of the things I've seen more in people engaging on their own, like if I can't have that get me filled up in the same way on a Sunday, that I can go into Scripture. And so we've seen more people in SOAP, which is what we use to kind of direct people to spend time with God, so that people would more kind of this idea of like, I can feed myself. I mean, you do a great job preaching, but the reality is, don't we know that if somebody would read a scripture, when we've read a scripture on our own and really dug into it, let the Lord speak it over, that's like as good as a lot of messages put together.
Yeah. No, that's right on. And I think, early on people were using the word like, don't have fear, don't have fear.
Yeah.
And I think like that's true. Like we should have fear, but there is this wisdom component
Yeah.
of being guarded, you know, and I think it's even kind of an opportunity for us to deepen our faith
Yeah.
while still choosing wisdom. And, you know,
You've talked a little bit before about this. There's this kind of a stripping back, like the things that we would have found as our normal rhythm or normally occupy our minds are like getting stripped back. What are the ways you see opportunities as, you know what I mean?
For
those
sure.
things kind of fall. Or
well,
exposed.
I think, you know, there's an expectation that's, well, I should say this. We think it's an expectation that my kids need to be involved in sports, or
Yeah.
there's an expectation that I need to go do this, and I don't have time to do this. And so this shutdown, I think, is actually exposed. Do you really? Like, or are you putting more on you than what you could?
Yeah.
So I think the stripping back is like, okay, money is an idol in our country. That's kind of taken a hit. Sports are an idol in our
I
country.
felt the sports one. When March Madness went away, I was like, I think I'm going to be home more often. I'll watch March Madness. No. So,
Yeah. And I think
sports, yeah.
it's not like any of these are bad,
Yeah.
right? You know, but just, you know, lack of margin, you know, just workaholism, you know, and these different areas that I think God's kind of just like, you know, and so for me, it's kind of re-anchored, like, whew, what are my priorities? Who do I look at the most? And so, but I think there's also been this fun win of learning new technology too, and dreaming for these next seasons of how does God want us to continue to be a blessing to other people. So, yeah, that's good. Anything else you've been pondering or thinking during this time?
No, I think one thing is just I found myself just appreciating things a lot more. Things are just a little bit more simplified in this season. So just appreciating and noticing places for, places for rest and kind of healthier rhythms. But
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of an opportunity where, like, what if God is just saying, like, peace, be still, you know, and so that's good. Well,
do you remember what it was when we both worked at Third Church together? We'd sometimes have the gift of time.
The gift of time.
That's
the gift
what we
of
have
time.
now.
Yeah. We'd have that. So, hey, our hope is you're encouraged where you're at, and we're gonna do everything we can to continue to bless you, encourage you, and we hope you have a great evening.